to jump right into this thing, and there are a few videos that I want to share, including the press conference, because the press conference, I go into the details of each area and how they failed the Worthing High School community, and of course, it's important for you guys to know that because this isn't about one person. It's not about Lloyd Ford. He is simply the face of it, unfortunately for him. It is much bigger than that, and of course, we will get to that. So again, thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. This thing would not have made it this far were it not for people who came to me with the information, came to another brother with the information, and were there as team members moving forward. We've been working on this for 13 months. And fortunately, we finally found um, a reporter who was willing to cover it. And trust me, I did reach out to every major and minor, black or white or otherwise, media source in the city. And the two that picked it up, one was a grassroots radio station that picked it up and interviewed me, and the other one was the author of the article that came out in the Houston Landing paper. So it's a lot to cover, a lot to digest. Difficult, I get, especially if you know Lloyd. I understand, but it is what it is. As a community, as righteous members of the community, we're going to have to deal with evil, and that evil doesn't always lack melanin. But if we stand together and if we're organized and connected, then we can take care of business and keep it moving. So again, thank you guys for being here, protecting our children from sexual exploitation, exposing a Houston ISD cover-up from the Freedom of Information Act document filing. This came out last June 2024. If you haven't seen this summary, then here it is, and it's also in the press conference which I cover. On April 12, 2024, the Investigations Department received a Title IX incident report from Alexandra Grigori, principal of Worthing High School, that a student reported that Mr. Ford, that's Lloyd Ford, sent a video of himself masturbating on Snapchat and solicited the child for sex. The Investigations Department initiated an investigation and found the following. The student reported that Mr. Ford sent an inappropriate video of himself masturbating on the social media app Snapchat and solicited her for sex. The Texas Department of Family and Protective Services and the Houston Police Department were both contacted and reports were made. The Employee Relations Investigations Department conducted an investigation and determined that the allegation against Mr. Ford was substantiated. And Mr. Ford was removed from his current assigned campus, Worthing High School, and was recommended for termination. This is the smoking gun. There are other smoking guns, but this is the one that really seals the deal. So if nothing else came out, if we found nothing else, then this would be enough to let us know and let the community know that not only is he guilty of the charge made against him, but this is enough for us to move forward. But of course, there's more to it. Now, I want you guys to keep in mind that whenever a person is interested in another person, and they want to get to know that person more, they do things. They initiate conversation. They text back and forth. They have phone calls. They might go out on dates. It's a process to get to the point whereby you feel comfortable enough with that person to possibly take the relationship to another level, let alone record yourself masturbating and sending it to that person. So I want you guys to keep in mind, remember that, and I didn't know this before researching all of this stuff. When a sexual predator has identified someone that they want to prey upon, then the process of them getting that person ready for what they are going to do is called grooming. I didn't know that, but that's what it's called. So keep in mind, as an adult, how you have behaved in the past when you are interested in someone, and keep that in mind that we're talking about a 37-year-old man approaching an 18-year-old high school student.
Hey guys, Michael Bershon back with you again, and I want to go back into the topic that I was on last week, and that is the process of grooming. I want to focus more on, from a victim perspective, why do so many people feel like they were actually a partner in their abuse versus a victim? And it seems counterintuitive, but the number one reason for that is consent. So, to define consent, a yielding of the mind or will to that which is proposed. Acquiescence, concurrence, compliance, permission are all synonyms of that. So essentially, the perpetrator has this long-term plan for the victim, and the victim does not know that when the grooming starts. Obviously, this victim was picked for a reason. So there is a consent that happens, and I'm going to kind of show you step by step what that looks like. So to get an idea of the grooming process in kind of a visual sense, before any grooming takes place, you're a happy, healthy, normal, well-adjusted person. We're going to focus more on kids because I'm focusing on peer-to-peer abuse right now. But as you can see, this is a gradual process. It gradually gets darker as the slide goes on until you're over here in the black. They essentially have complete control over you and are able to do whatever they want. And you're not going to say anything because you're now down here on the opposite end of the spectrum. So in terms of what acts may get a person there, now this is going to vary case by case, but the important thing to keep in mind here is that each one of these steps, the victim does make a choice to continue. So watching the R-rated movie may be the first step that they take. Now they make a choice. If you're a kid, you probably are not supposed to be watching R-rated movies. And you know that, but you make the choice to do that anyway. Maybe next time it's smoking a cigarette or doing dip or drinking a sip of a beer, whatever it may be. It's something, again, that takes you a little bit deeper, that's a little bit worse than the first thing. And now you haven't told anybody about watching an R-rated movie. Now you've also smoked cigarettes or done something else. And then the next step could be something like pornography. Maybe they introduce you to pornography, which on some level you really enjoy because it stimulates a sexual response in you that should not be awakened at that age. Then they may stay away from sexual stuff for a minute and go with something like shoplifting, maybe a little bit more serious of an offense. Again, something that's going to take them a little bit deeper, that they're going to have a little more control over the victim. And again, the victim is making the choice to do that because they are having some need met throughout this whole process. And that's an important thing to keep in mind. So you say, why would a person continue down this road? Well, first off, they don't know where it's heading. And second off, they are having some need met in this. I'll use my story as an example. For me, I had a very, very, very limited friend group. I had 3 friends that I was essentially allowed to hang out with. And one of those ended up being my abuser. But the reason I kept going back was, one, I felt like I couldn't tell my parents any of the other things that had happened. So how was I going to tell them about the abuse? On some level, I knew that I was making a choice to continue to go over and hang out at his house, despite the fact that in the end, I knew what was going to happen. And that's why this process is so manipulative, so thought out, and why it is so damaging to the victim. So now we're maybe at the halfway point, still haven't done any actual abuse. Nothing's gotten sexual other than maybe the pornography. From there, it's going to turn towards something like sexually charged talk. Now, again, you're not taking any actions, but again, you're crossing another boundary because 2 kids should not be talking about sexually charged things. Again, the victim hasn't said anything, so now the next step's going to be getting a little more physical. So maybe now it's inappropriate touching. From there, it could go into something like masturbation. Maybe it's mutual masturbation. In my case, I had to masturbate my abuser, or anything along those lines. It's essentially this progression. It's now crossed the threshold where there's no question that it is abuse and it is sexual in nature. And as you can see, the victim has made all these small steps. Every time they chose to follow through on that action, they were in a sense giving their consent to the ultimate plan that this perpetrator has. Not obviously knowing where it's going to go, but that's the whole point, is it's the small steps that get you stuck more and more over time. Another example I like to use is a quicksand. Quicksand on the surface may not look any different from the rest of the ground that you're walking on, but you step into it, and the more you struggle against it, the deeper it's going to get you until at some point you're completely submerged and you're essentially helpless. So what is the end result of all this? Now, as you go through that whole grooming process, you're going to slowly lose a piece of yourself with each step. And the end result is that you, at the end, most of the time, will like a participant and not a victim in this. So what you're going to do is just put on a mask. There will probably be behavioral issues. There will probably be other things. But most of the time, that does not get attributed to what has actually happened to this person. It gets attributed to If it's a teenager sleeping in, well, they're just being a teenager. If it's a kid acting out, well, that's just a rebellion type thing. Whatever it is, it's generally not accurately connected to the source of the actual problem. And it is a cry out for help, but it is not read or responded to like that in most cases. So the end result is that you end up putting a mask on, and each time that cry out for help is rejected or not heard, that sends you a little bit deeper and makes it a little bit harder to come back from. While physically and outwardly nothing may appear like it's changed, the reality is that they're very much going to be living a lie at that point. They are not the same person they were before they were abused. The hope is that we can bring awareness to this and ultimately prevent it from happening, but also to help those that have experienced this to realize that they are victims in this. They are not in any way, shape, or form participants, and that there is healing from this. It is a long road. It may very well be a lifelong journey, but it is not something you have to stay stuck in forever. So that is my encouragement to you. Hopefully that gives you a little better understanding of what the grooming process kind of looks like from a victim's perspective, and how it can happen that this person is able to abuse a fellow peer in this case without anybody knowing, and the victim not being able to really say anything. So
All right, so I want to share now the press conference that I did last Friday, which goes into a bit more detail about everything. Share with you guys the details as we have them, as we understand them, as we've researched and discovered them, of this whole Lloyd Ford fiasco, which we as a community have to step up and deal with, because as you're about to see, those who have the authority and power to deal with it haven't done so to date. And that's why community organization and the mobilization and activity is so important. And we'll get to that in a moment. So I'm going to give, we're supposed to start at 9, which is in 4 minutes, but I like to give people 5 minutes to show up for any meeting that I'm having. So we'll be starting a little bit after 9. If you're in the area, we would love for you to come out and support. And if you can't make it, then please watch online. You can also go to the Instagram, which I post there as well, and get the Zoom link because we're also live on Zoom and we're live on Facebook. So we'll be starting soon. Thank you guys for being here, which is very cool. I'm going to share my screen, and then we're going to jump right into this thing. I'm going to start with there are a few things that I want to share to make sure everybody is clear on what we're doing, why we're doing it, why we're here, and what's going on. There is no need for us to fabricate anything. There's no need for us to make up anything. The evidence that we have is more than enough to move this thing forward. And our issue as a community organization is trying to determine just that. Why has this situation not moved forward? Why has Lloyd Ford not been charged? Why, if there's been evidence of a crime, why has that evidence not been forwarded to the authorities that can press charges and have him arrested? So this is what we're dealing with. This is the Freedom of Information report, a Freedom of Information document that we got last year, because this is how long we've been working on this thing. Since last April was when it initially came to us. So you can see at the very top, it has Lloyd Ford, his employee ID, June 7th of last year. Brief summary: on April 12th, 2024, the Investigations Department received a Title IX incident report from Alexandria Grigori, the principal of Worthing High School, that the student reported that Mr. Ford sent a video of himself masturbating on Snapchat and solicited the child's name for sex. The Investigations Department initiated an investigation and found the following. The student reported that Mr. Ford sent an inappropriate video of himself masturbating on the social media app Snapchat and solicited her for sex. The Texas Department of Family and Protective Services and the Houston Police Department were both contacted, and reports were made. The Employee Relations Investigations Department conducted an investigation and determined that the allegation against Mr. Ford was substantiated. Mr. Ford was removed from his current assigned campus and was recommended for termination. So that is the smoking gun. It took us, I think we got that maybe 5 or 6 months ago. We've been working on this for 13 months, and we've been working on it for so long because we couldn't get those persons who had the information to share that information with us. to let us know what was what. So everything we found was a result of us doing the research ourselves, because no one was doing it and no one had given us what we needed to date. That Freedom of Information Act, although it is a smoking gun, there are 43 pages that we don't have from that Freedom of Information Act request. So who knows what's in those 43 pages? We don't know how many other victims there are. We don't know how many times he's done this. Um, Predators rarely prey on anything one time. There's usually history, activity, reputation, and that's what we're dealing with. So I want to open this with what I'm about to share with you guys with two scriptures. Ephesians 5:11 states, "Have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them." And Matthew 22:14 states, "For many are called, but few are chosen." So if you have not seen the article and you want to read it, you can do that in one of two ways. You can go to Google, type in Houston Landing, comma, Lloyd Ford, click enter, it'll pop up. Most people have seen the article, and the opening paragraph is enough for them to get the gist, but we really are trying to get people to read the entire article, because all the evidence, all the information, everything is laid out, is very well written, very detailed, and the gentleman who did the article for the Houston Landing, Mr. Asher, did an absolutely phenomenal job. If you want more information, or if you want to see the details of what he's talking about in the article, you can go to our website and download the latest issue of our digital magazine, Grow for Care Digital. The website is Grow for Care, GROW, the number 4, CARE.org. Click on G4C Digital, scroll down to the second sub menu, click on that. It'll bring up the most current issue of the magazine. You can download it, and you can not only see the article link, but the main things the article talks about, we've blown up to make it very, very, very easy. As a matter of fact, if you don't want to read it, because it is a long article, because it is so detailed, you can just go to the magazine, download the current issue, and look at what we've blown up for you to see. TEA putting him on the Do Not Hire registry, the information I just read to you, the fake and false letter. Well, we have the actual letter, but there's a fake and false letter that he's circulating to show that he's innocent, but it's fabricated. We've already confirmed that, and the article confirms that as well. And we have the real letter. So I'll get to that later, but he's lying, which is what predators do. So we have a few questions and a few statements for a few different groups. So for HISD, we want to know, as a community and as concerned citizens, parents, loved ones, we want to know, why was the evidence good enough to send the TEA, Texas Education Agency, who placed them on their Do Not Hire registry, but not good enough to send to the DAR to HPD? The second thing we want from HISD, we want to know, if parents and guardians weren't notified because charges weren't filed, why didn't you, HISD, do everything in your power to ensure those charges were filed, and at a minimum, without naming Lloyd Ford, maybe it was an active investigation, but without naming Lloyd Ford, why didn't you inform parents and guardians, and so that they can counsel their children and find out if they had any interactions with this sexual predator? Third thing, if a sexual predator was identified and removed from your child's school campus, would you want to know? And if so, why didn't you see fit to inform the parents of Worthing High School? So that's what we need to know from HISD. For HPD, the Freedom of Information Act document that we requested and we received shows that HPD was notified. But when we reached out to the substation that's closest to Worthing High School, that's right behind me, twice we did that, by the way, you guys told us that you had nothing on file about Lloyd Ford. So if information was provided, how can that be that you have nothing on file? For the City of Houston leadership, as stated when I spoke this past Tuesday, we, the concerned members, associates, and affiliates of District D and Worthing High School, we need your help to determine what can be done to, one, remove Lloyd Ford from any leadership positions with the city, per the evidence we already have, the evidence that I've emailed to you, and the evidence that I shared when we started this live press conference. Number two, help us reach out to the community to inform them, educate them, and better prepare them for how to spot the signs of a sexual predator. Because we've been told that Lloyd Ford was doing things in and around the campus that was strange behavior, like videotaping girls at a track meet, videotaping girls at a volleyball game. A lot of things we've heard that I'm sure other people saw, but no one saw fit to highlight. So there needs to be a meeting with the community to help them better spot predatory behavior in an adult, and more importantly, spot predatory behavior, predatory the results of a predator on our children. What does that look like when a child has been preyed upon and sexually molested and or assaulted? And lastly, what we need from the city of Houston, we need your help reaching out to potentially affected children, because again, predators don't do what they do one time. There are other victims out there of what he has done, the proof of what he has done. We need your help creating some sort of day of counseling for the children in and around Worthing High School. I believe that the city of Houston leadership can do a few things to help us make sure that our children are whole, make sure that our parents fully understand what's what, and help us work together to ensure we have a safe environment for our children in our public schools. For District D leadership, per your own admission, you heard about Lloyd Ford's sexual predation and you made the decision to distance yourself from him. Kudos to you. Per your own admission and that of your chief of staff when he called me on Wednesday and we spoke for a whole hour, your only concern was removing your name and its connection to Lloyd Ford. You did nothing to inform, educate, prepare, and protect the children of Worthing High School and District D, the parents and guardians of Worthing High School and District D, the teachers and faculty of Worthing High School, and the constituents of District D. What, if anything, are you willing to do to help us right this most egregious wrong? Again, by your own admission and the admission of your chief of staff, you were only concerned with removing your name from being connected to Lloyd Ford because of what you heard. If what you heard was that bad, then you should have done more to warn the community that there was possibly, allegedly, at that time, although we have proof now, that there was a sexual predator in the midst of the community and the children. You didn't do any of that. But it's not too late for you to do the right thing and help us get the word out. For Worthing High School leadership, you reported the event. Amen for that. But what about, like District D's leadership, what about the educating, preparing, and protecting the children, the parents and the guardians, and the teachers and the faculty of Worthing High School? I understand at the time, if it was an active investigation, you couldn't release his name, but that does not change the fact, nor does it absolve you of the responsibility of doing what you could have done to protect the children. You can't name him because it's an investigation, but you could have said, because of what you knew, because of the video that you saw, because of the information you sent to TEA, you could have most certainly had sessions with the children, had meetings with the parents, notified the community and let them know, we've received information that there might be a sexual predator in our midst. This is what you need to do, parents. This is what you need to do, guardians. Children, if you've been approached, call this number, come to this office, talk to this counselor. That didn't happen. And it didn't happen because Worthing High School's leadership, for whatever reason, didn't do it, but that's not good enough. So for the supporters of Lloyd Ford, trust me, I get it. This is a lot to take in. It's a lot to learn, believe, and fully, finally accept. When Lloyd Ford ran for city council, he reached out to two people to be his campaign manager. They wanted to be paid. He didn't have any money. We as a group didn't have any money. So I agreed to be his campaign manager for free when he was running for city council a year and a half ago. If you look at his book, The Black Agenda, if you turn that book over and look on the back of the book, my name is there because I helped him lay out the book. So I was very close to Lloyd. If you look at, I don't know, 2 or 3 years of his community meetings at the Black Store, I was sitting usually directly to his right. So I get it. I get being close to a person. I get having a certain perspective and or opinion of that person based on what you see them doing. But I also understand that when we get new information of the dark side of a person, especially if that dark side is about the sexual predation toward our children and students, at that point, we have to make a decision on what are we going to do? Are we going to hold the Lord that we love, like, respect? On one hand, we're going to follow that Lord, or we're going to deal with the truth of what we're dealing with and deal with him as we should and get him out of the community. So for Lloyd supporters, again, I get it, I understand. I've been there, but this is bigger than Lloyd. He's lying to you. He shared every time I post on social media, well, not every time because I post a lot, but he's been sharing a fake letter that he or someone close to HISD or him created, showing proof that he didn't do this. But if you read the Houston Landing article, it clearly states that this letter is falsified and we have the real letter. Now add to that fake letter that he's created to try and show that he's innocent, which he's not, because it's a fake letter, and we have the actual letter. Add to that the fact that TEA, the Texas Education Agency, took the evidence that HISD gave them from the young girl's phone and determined that the sexual harassment allegations were true and placed them on their do not hire registry, and he's there now for having an inappropriate relationship with the student. Add to the fake letter the fact that TEA recommended that Lloyd be fired as a result of this evidence. Add to the fake letter the fact that HISD then fired him or terminated his contract as a result of this evidence. Add to the fake letter the fact that the opening statement I read came from a Freedom of Information Act filing by which some of the evidence, there are 43 pages of that report we do not have that were left out. 43 pages. We don't know what's on those 43 pages. But that information was used to place Lloyd on the do not hire registry and get him fired. And add to the fake letter the fact that many people in the community, a lot of people know of Lloyd Ford's sexual predation, his actions, his reputation. And trust me, what we've heard is much worse than what we know. But we can't prove what we've heard, so we're not dealing with that. We're only going with what we know, and what we know is bad enough. So for the supporters of Lloyd Ford, you can believe what you want, but your beliefs will not change the facts, and that belief and what you do with that belief or what you don't do with that belief may be a part of the problem. Only you can determine what you do with the facts as we've just laid out. And again, everything I've shared is in the article, is on our website. Go get it for yourself. Don't believe anything I say. Read the article, do your own research, and I guarantee you, you're going to come to the same conclusion. And lastly, for the Black community, if this is how we're going to support our children when they're brave enough to come forward, then why would they ever come forward? As a community, we must mobilize, rally around, organize, and protect our children while we're seeking justice. All of the above, everything I just shared with you, is what it looks like. We have improper leadership for our community, for our neighborhood, for our schools, for our communities. That's a fact. All of the above that I just shared are reasons why we must look within as opposed to without our communities for leadership. And then that leadership has to be background checked, vetted, and monitored for overall development, progress. As I say, this is what we have to do as a community to ensure this kind of thing doesn't continue to happen. As a community, we must have grassroots Black people teaching our children, protecting our children, running our schools, running our neighborhoods and communities, running our precincts, zip codes, and districts. Because when we don't have grassroots Black people who come from the community, who care about the community, who've been background checked, vetted, and monitored, when we don't have that, we have someone like a Lloyd Ford who looks the part, speaks the part, does some good things in the community, but there's a dark side to that person. And when we discover a dark side to a person as it relates to what happens in our communities, especially with our children, we have to do something with that dark side. And that's what we're here to do this morning moving forward. And this is just the beginning of what we have to do to ensure that this person does not continue to maneuver around the community, because he's still doing a lot of work in the community around a lot of children and young people. And that's a problem. This is what happens, and this is what it looks like when we don't have proper leadership. This is what happens when we don't have the right people in place. And who suffers the most? Who suffers the most is our children. So I'm going to leave you guys, if I can find it, leave you guys with a quote of Martin Luther King, if I can find it. And this quote pretty much sums it up, because it really does detail where we are as a community and what we need to do. Martin Luther King said, quote, "The ultimate tragedy is not the oppression and cruelty by the bad people, but the silence over that by the good people," end quote. Okay, so that was the live press conference I did last Friday. I want to make it very, very, very clear that the smoking guns are substantial and very clear. The first smoking gun is the TEA Do Not Hire registry. If you go to the TEA's website right now, and type in his name, it clearly shows that he's there, and he's there because of having an inappropriate relationship with a student or minor. The smoking gun number 2 is the Freedom of Information Act document, what I read at the beginning of the presentation. The third smoking gun, his recommendation, him being recommended and for firing and subsequently being fired because of the evidence. Smoking gun number 4, the community knows. A lot of people know about Lloyd's dark side, and we have to work as much as possible, as much as work with those who are willing to work with us to get that information so we can move forward. And then finally, the smoking gun is the fake letter. As I've said, every single time he's posted this fake letter on my pages, I follow up with a snippet from the article that talks about the fake letter, and then I post the real letter because, as I said in the press conference, we have the real letter. In the grand scheme of things, Lloyd is really a little fish. Again, he's the face of this thing, unfortunately for him, but this is much bigger than one person. As a community, we have to prepare our children because going into high school, of course, they don't know what to expect because they haven't been exposed to it. And from what we've seen so far, sadly, it doesn't look like the school has anything in place. The district doesn't have anything in place. The leadership for the district on the city council level is not trying to put anything in place at all. So it's really going to be on the community to step up and prepare our children for what may occur in high school moving forward, and then ensure we have some physical bodies on campus to help these children move along and to look out for them and protect them, especially when they come forward, to make sure that we are, as adults, responding the right way and then doing what we need to do to ensure that those who try to harm our children are taken care of.
Hi there, I'm Kim. My friends and I have some stories to share. What do you expect from being a teenager?
Going out with friends more.
Making that money.
Getting a real relationship.
Driving Dad's 69 Camaro.
Meeting new friends. Sexual assault.
What?
Sexual manipulation.
Predatory people?
Wait.
Ongoing abuse. Buried trauma.
Broken boundaries. Touching without consent.
So it turns out sexual abuse is something that a lot of us end up dealing with. It's a messed up topic that nobody wants to talk about. But while nobody's talking about it, we're living with it.
As we get older, independence and jobs and relationships, they're great. But there are a lot of things that we don't think about that can lead to sexual abuse. That's why we want to talk about it. When I started going out with friends more and doing stuff on my own, I was having fun. But I was new to a lot of things.
I knew it was possible for someone to try to take advantage of a person my age, but I never imagined it happening to me.
And I wasn't used to having to stand up for myself in an unsafe situation.
Sexual abuse can come from a relative, a boss, a teacher, a church pastor.
A scout leader. A close friend. Someone on the internet.
It can even happen when you're on a date or just hanging out. Look, it happens to both girls and boys, and we want to show you how to stop sexual abuse before it causes more pain for you or your friends.
When you really think about it, you don't have to look far to find someone that's dealt with abuse.
Or someone that's got something on their mind that hurts to talk about.
Or someone that's been taken advantage of because they're growing up and want to fit in or have a relationship.
Or someone that feels guilty or responsible for someone else's abusive behavior.
Or someone that feels isolated and trapped by a situation. Everyone's got their own story. Even though sexual abuse is hard to talk about, sharing experiences helps us recognize sexual abuse in dangerous situations in our own lives.
Bottom line, if someone's behavior makes you uncomfortable, you can tell them to stop. And if they don't stop, They're in the wrong, and you should get away.
We want to talk about sexual abuse.
We want to talk about preventing it from happening.
We want to talk about listening to ourselves and not giving in to social pressure or lies.
And watching out for our friends when they're in unsafe situations.
That means recognizing how abusive people can take advantage of you.
Abuse can feel very lonely and personal, but I think that by talking about it, we can get rid of the stigma.
Sexual abuse can catch you totally off guard, but experiences like ours can show you the red flags that can help keep you safe.
Okay, I don't know why this yellow line is here, so I'm going to stop this and then restart, and hopefully the line will go away. Let me see. Hopefully that will do it. Okay, so as I said, Lloyd is a little fish, is a small fish as it relates to what needs to be done. We got to go after the big fish, because the big fish, those are the institutions and the people who have the power to do what needs to be done, what should have been done, that didn't do it and aren't trying to do it. HISD, they had the evidence, but they didn't forward it to the district attorney or the HPD. We need to know why. HPD, they said they didn't have a file on Lloyd, although the Freedom of Information Act document clearly shows that information was forwarded. We need to know why there was no file, and how can that be that there be no file. The district attorney, we need to find out if we get this reopened, which is our goal, one of our goals. Will they prosecute? We need to find out from the city of Houston what they're willing to do to assist us in this process, if anything. From District D, she completely failed her constituents as she is over the district. And of course, Worthing High School is in her district. And as I said in the live press conference, her only goal, speaking to both her when I went to speak to city council and her chief of staff the next day, their only goal was to ensure that her name was not connected to this situation or Lloyd Ford's name. And she was not concerned with the children, the parents, or guardians, or anything else. So I need to know, let her know, I did let her know that she failed, but I need to know what she's willing to do moving forward. I need to know from Worthing High School, they also failed the students, the parents, and the guardians, and the teachers, and the staff, and the faculty, because they did nothing to let people know what was what, and they did nothing to ensure other students that they were there for them, and they sure as heck didn't notify parents and guardians. For community leaders, I have been extremely shocked and surprised to learn how many people know of Lloyd's sexual predation. I need to know which ones are willing to step up and help us make this thing a reality and really move it forward. And out of the many, many, many community organizations I shared this information with, I only had really a resounding response. And what can I do to help from 2? And I know I shared it with at least 30 plus, which is telling. And for the community, we have to understand that Lloyd is not the only one out there doing these sorts of things. We have to make sure that we mobilize and organize ourselves, put layers of security around our children, and to keep this thing moving, because not only is he not the first one, but he most certainly won't be the last. Predators prey where they prey for a reason. People take advantage of our children and our communities for a reason, and that's not going to stop because we ignore it. It's not going to stop because we wish it to stop. It's only going to stop if we put mechanisms in place to ensure that the predator is not able to do what they want to do in our spaces. This does not stop until we step up to stop it. How do these things happen? These things happen because evil exists. These things happen because evil is going to do what evil does. Primarily, the people who are elected and hired to care about the community, look out for the community, take care of the community. They simply don't care enough, or they don't care at all. When I went to speak to city council, it was telling at the level of disinterest that the melanated council members had. I really can't tell you how many white people were there because I wasn't really focusing on them. One Hispanic guy, but the black people, the melanated people, not black. There was only one out of about 7 of them who was obviously disgusted and shocked. Everybody else was trying to hide behind the paper or melt into the seat of their chairs. So from HISD to HPD to District D to Worthing High School, all of them are complicit because none of them did everything they could do to ensure that Lloyd Ford was prosecuted, nor did they do everything they could have done to ensure that the initial victim, as well as possibly other victims, families, guardians, staff, faculty, administrators, and the Worthing High School community was notified and taken care of. The second reason these things happen is because the community is also complicit. We have to step up. We can't afford to know a thing and not do anything about that thing that we know. Again, a lot of people know, a lot of people knew about Lloyd Ford. What we can prove is what we're rolling with. What we can't prove, the quote unquote rumors, as far as what he's known for, is just as strong as his image is of a grassroots Black person trying to do righteous work. He has an equally evil side that people know about as well. But because of that positive side, people don't say anything about the evil side. So these things happen because those who are in place to do something about it don't do anything. And because the community doesn't step up and we look the other way too often. We have to separate our feelings, what we feel about the person, from the facts that are actually in front of us. We're not connected and we're not organized, so this thing continues to happen. And we absolutely must replace those elected and hired persons who have proven that they don't care. If the people who have the power to do something don't care enough to do anything, and if the community who knows something doesn't do anything with what they know, then there's no reason for the predator to stop. And they won't stop. Again, Lloyd had, well, he hadn't done it recently, maybe because of my responses, but he was posting the fake letter on my post to try and prove his innocence. But maybe he got tired of me calling that out and posting the actual letter. But he actually showed up every Thursday morning. We have an event called Thursday Morning Breakfast. He showed up to the restaurant to talk to the owner, saying that he was going to sue me because I was out here lying about him, and showed them the fake letter. And that was last week. So he's not going to stop because he hasn't been properly incentivized to stop. That's not going to happen if the community doesn't step up to ensure that he has no choice but to stop. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing what we're doing. We absolutely must separate the facts of what's in front of us with how we feel about Lloyd. So these are a few of the text messages responses that I've received back from people. I sent this to a prominent community quote unquote leader, and my stuff is in green, and you see at the bottom he says he said I said, and not sure if you knew this, but you certainly need to know, and I posted the article and the opening paragraph of the article, which shows Lloyd's name and calls Lloyd's name out. He says, quote, not this latest report, in that he hadn't seen this one. He said, not this latest report, but somebody sent me info a while back. Unfortunate to say the least. So again, when I tell you that people know and people knew, people with followings, with prominence, with stature, with connections, people know, but they're not doing anything with what they know. So again, if those in power have the ability to stop him, and they're not made to do their jobs to stop him, and if the community doesn't step up and stop him, then he's not going to stop. This is another sister I sent the information to. She said she didn't believe it. I sent her the Freedom of Information Act document that I read at the beginning of the presentation, and that I also read in the press conference. And she said, and you can see hers below my blue, she states, well, sounds a little fishy to me. Black people should be assumed innocent until proven guilty. I just hope it's not our own people trying to tear each other down again. And the same smoking guns that I shared with you guys a few slides ago, I shared those with her as well, and she didn't respond when I shared those. Another brother said to me, are we not our brother's keeper? So I sent him the Freedom of Information Act information, and I said, not when our brother has done wrong. And I said, this is a Freedom of Information Act document. If there's proof that he's done wrong, then no, he cannot be our brother and we cannot keep him because he's doing evil work and it's toward a child. And he says, duly noted. I send the fist, and he said, I think these are three mirrors with a thinking emoji, and I think he's trying to say you should look in the mirror at yourself. I think that's what he's trying to say. I asked him what he meant, but he didn't reply. So another message, two more. This sister said, and this is a sister that when I sent her the information initially, she was like, wow, this is crazy. I don't want to believe it. It's sad. And I sent her the same evidence, sent her the flyer about today's Zoom. She didn't reply to the initial flyer. And then I sent a reminder, and this is what she sent to me after I sent that reminder. She said, hey, Tamani, I'm not in support of bringing Lloyd down. I believe in him and his mission. I've had conversations with Lloyd about his vision before, during, and I think she meant the election. And I've seen him after the election, so I will not be in attendance. So she's struggling with how she feels about Lloyd as it relates to who Lloyd actually is. And then the last thing I want to share with you guys is something a brother posted on Facebook. This sister was saying, is this real, or is this someone who's upset because the relationship fell apart or something like that? And this brother said absolutely to the sister. He said, we can't just throw our comrades away like that. While we must protect our children at all costs, we must also protect our brothers and sisters from possibly being persecuted publicly unjustly. Which is interesting how he said, we got to protect the children, but we got to protect the pedophiles, which is crazy. Even if it were true, brotherly love don't handle it like that. Real care and concern would have called him up, prayed, watched, and then held the persons are district accountable. This is where religiosity, cognitive dissonance, and identity politics comes in, which is one of the reasons why Black people are so screwed up. The problem here is that the family concept hadn't come into fruition as needed or expected. Tamani should be extending the same olive branch to Lloyd that he would have if his own mom, spouse, child, or best friend. And just for the record, we did have people ask Lloyd if this was true. So of course he lied and said it wasn't true. But then we got the evidence. So much for extending the olive branch. Hugging and praying, no. This methodology between two Black men did more harm than good. Hopefully I prevented further damage. They were once comrades. That's the one thing he got right. After their little fallout, I talked to Lloyd, who clearly explained he had no ill feelings about Tamani. He said that he was too busy doing the work of bettering our community. I tried to be the mediator, but apparently her feelings wouldn't allow reconciliation. Agreeing to disagree apparently wasn't an option. I have love for both men, but I don't think this was the best way to handle it. If anybody can't see how destructive this was, then they are blind or unconscious. So this is why these things happen to our people in our community. Those who have the power to stop it don't give a damn. And those who know about what's going on don't say anything. And then when proof is given of a person's evil nature, we don't want to believe it. We don't want to accept it. We make every excuse in the book. So this brother says, the last thing he said was, if I have some evidence, then I'm all down for the struggle. And I'm like, fool, I've given you the evidence. You have the evidence. You said you read the evidence, but you're not doing anything. So this is why we get screwed over by those in power and by those that look like us, because we have identity politics and cognitive dissonance issues, and we are too hung up on what we feel about a person or what we think a person is really about, as opposed to the reality of that person. So what do we want with everything that we've learned and what we've laid out? We want this case investigation reopened by TEA, Texas Employment Education Agency, or HISD, with all the evidence sent to both the Harris County District Attorney's Office and Houston Police Department to determine who knew what, when they knew it, how so many balls were dropped, why, and all guilty parties prosecuted. We want training, new and or updated training for all HISD administrators, faculty, employees on how to recognize a potential sexual predator, and for all HISD students on how to recognize, understand, and act if they've been targeted or already violated. We want new HISD policy that states whenever an alleged crime has been committed as it relates to the sexual exploitation of a child, regardless of amount of proof and or evidence, parents/guardians will be immediately notified so they can consult with and, if necessary, console their child/children and get them help. What we want is another HISD policy that states once an alleged crime has been committed as it relates to the sexual exploitation of a child, as that case develops with further investigation, proof, and or evidence, a review board of combined community persons and school HISD administration officials will convene to be made aware of the progress of sexual exploitation and or abuse of said child/children. We want new HISD policy that states once the alleged sexual exploitation of a child has been reported and a criminal investigation begun, any requested information, as much as can be provided by a parent, school official, school employee, and or community member, be released via a report, and that person's name be added if they so desire to an investigation update distribution list per that investigation. We want a stressing and reinforcing of HISD and state policy, whereby regardless of employment status and or role, as an official reporter, and anyone that's employed by the school district is considered an official reporter. They must notify the proper authorities of suspected child abuse, regardless of form or intensity of that abuse. We want a new HISD policy in our state law stating that any official reporter, again, HISD employee, who is instructed to not report, because we heard that people were instructed not to report an alleged sexual harassment or exploitation of a child, they must report that instruction to HISD school board officials and the City of Houston Police Department. Upon proof that a given adult, regardless of employment status and or role/position, has not reported suspected abuse of a child, they are swiftly and severely dealt with both criminally and civilly. Upon proof that a given adult, regardless of employment status and or position, within or without the school district, has not reported suspected abuse of a child, they are swiftly and severely dealt with both criminally and civilly. And then lastly, upon proof that a crime has been committed as it relates to the sexual exploitation of a child, that adult is not only swiftly dealt with both criminally and civilly, but notification of said evidence and pending punishment is sent to every parent and school official, regardless of position and or employment status. And last, and everything that we just stated that we want to happen, of course, did not happen, is not happening. And that's why it's so important that the community forces the school district and other people to make these things happen. Otherwise, again, the sexual predation and exploitation of our children will simply continue. And lastly, immediate implementation of the nationally recognized Dads on Duty program, which will not only provide further assistance with the overall support and development of our children, but also create an immediate chain of organized concern and protection of which community members can now be a part. So that is what we want moving forward, and that's what we're going to be working toward. Why are we doing this? Because nobody gets a pass, especially when it comes to our children. I don't care how much melanin you have. I don't care how much good you're doing or think you're doing or you're trying to do. Nobody gets a pass. So that's the first reason we're doing this. Second reason is because it's the right thing to do, period. Because all of our kinfolk ain't our kinfolk. Just because someone looks like us don't mean that they are in fact like us. Because we don't know how many students have been affected because of HISD, and because the district and the school didn't do what they could have done to find out if there were other victims. They were too busy trying to sweep it under the rug. We don't know how many victims there are. And that's why we're doing this. Because we know other kids knew and know, and we don't know how they've processed what has happened, if they've processed it at all. Because it is a felony for an adult employee of HISD to solicit a student, regardless of age, for sex. Because parents and our guardians deserve and need to know. Because the community deserves and needs to know. Because if you were a guardian or a parent of a Worthing High School student during this time, you would want to know. Because Worthing High School administration, faculty, and teachers still don't know. They would like to know, and of course they deserve to know. Because somebody at HISD dropped the ball, intentionally or not, and the youth are still unsafe because these safeguards that we are pushing for are currently not in place. We're doing this because the district attorney's office and HPD have been rendered ineffective and moot due to HISD not doing its job intentionally or otherwise, because the principal of Worthing High School was negligent in her duties to take care of the children properly, 100%. Because whatever mechanisms Worthing High School and our HISD have in place to help protect the students from this kind of evil failed miserably. Because there are other predators out there, and they need to know that they are not safe, and we will come after them 100%. because these type of activities are not the kind of quote unquote leadership we need. This person, Lloyd Ford, is planning to run for city council. I have zero reason to believe that he's not going to continue doing what he's been doing, and he's not going to become uh, uh, sloppy with his work. He's simply going to become more sophisticated and have more people that are not reporting him as they should because they might have that kind of relationship. Because these criminals must be stopped before they do more damage. Because maybe if the black community had this level of organization 1, 5, 15, 25, 50 years ago, the sexual exploitation of your grandmother, your mother, your aunt, your cousin, your sister, your wife, your daughter, and or your son, maybe even you, would have never happened. And the final reason we're doing this is because our children are our greatest and most valued asset. And if we, the black community, don't protect them, then who will? So Lloyd likes to talk about him always doing the work, not focus on anything else. I just want to let you guys know that he's not the only one out here, quote unquote, doing the work. I wrote and published the only black grassroots community focused booklet to prep Black people for and navigate through Project 2025. That booklet is still free to download on our website. I am actively managing 15 from the grassroots think tanks to push back against the 15 departments that they are changing via Project 2025. We held our first annual African Holocaust Conference this year. I host a weekly team building meetup focused on helping the community heal from 400 years of forced trauma. I publish the only weekly digital magazine in the country, focusing on Black grassroots communities in the areas of spirituality, right, culture, education, economics, social economics, and politics. I'm actively recruiting candidates to run for political office in multiple Texas cities, including Houston. And I'm preparing to launch, we're preparing to launch a Black community focused, led, and owned local food system and network. These are some of the things that we've been focused on doing. So I don't want you thinking that we are also not quote unquote doing the work. What you can do to help, first thing you can do is all of what you've seen, everything you've seen in this presentation was a result of a of a very small group of dedicated and unrelenting Black people. This team absolutely must grow because if we want the things that we feel we need to protect our children, to prosecute these people who are at fault, is going to take a larger team. Everything that we want is going to require team effort. So we want you to get in where you fit in. We need researchers, block walkers, poll takers, phone bankers, political candidates, team leads, strategic partners, and of course funds. This is but a snapshot of the bigger picture. We need you to get involved because again, it's not going to go away if you don't get involved. And we need you to invest your intellectual capital and sweat equity because these sorts of things don't stop just because we want them to stop. They don't stop because we feel they need to stop. They don't stop because it's the right thing to do for them to stop. They're only going to stop if we force the hand of those who have the power to stop it, if we remove them from their positions by running against them, and the community mobilizes and organizes in a fashion that we're able to put the right amount of pressure on them to do something. And there are a number of things that we're planning to do. And of course, the more help and assistance we have from the community, the easier it'll be to get these things done. As I said initially, this is only the beginning. The article was an excellent article. 65, 70% of the evidence in the article came from us. And it only came from us because we didn't stop digging. We didn't stop asking questions. We didn't stop interviewing people. If I could do all of this again, the only thing I would do differently is I would file that Freedom of Information Act immediately because that gave us the smoking gun. And of course, I didn't know about it initially because this is my first time working in this particular arena as it relates to community development and protection. But I will file that document ASAP because then we would have the smoking gun. We would have had the smoking gun a lot sooner and we would have been able to move a lot quicker. But other than that, I wouldn't do anything differently. If this were your child, if you had a child at the school, if this happened to somebody that you know, I would still be doing this because again, everything I said as far as why we're doing this is why I'm doing this. And of course, if we as a community don't do this, then the predation doesn't stop. And sadly, all of us probably know someone, if not a few someones, who've been assaulted, harassed, molested, some as children, some as adults. Um, it's a serious issue, and it's not going to go away if we don't do something about it. So, on that note, thank you guys very much for being here again. Does anybody have a question or comment for me about anything before we close this thing out?
Yeah, I have a question to mind. This
Yes,
is
sir. Yep,
Brian.
I know your voice.
Choice you to three questions.
Yep.
Where is Lloyd now in regards to where he is working? Two, is he working now and where? And three, how can we track him?
Well, he doesn't work for HISD anymore. He was fired, as I said, as a result of the information coming out. I don't think he has a traditional job. I know the only thing I know he does is that he sells I can't remember the name of the product, but there's a health product that he sells to generate revenue. I've heard that he has a drone company. And as a matter of fact, when I went to speak to city council, the youngest melanated person on the council, I can't remember his name, but he was obviously bothered by everything I was saying in the article. I sent them copies, I emailed them copies, and I handed out copies. And he was constantly hiding behind the paper. And I was told later that Lloyd possibly has a contract with his company to do some drone work. So I know he sells some health products, but I've heard he also does drone work. But that's all I know as far as his employment or his revenue generation. As far as how we track him, other than when he posts on social media, I don't know how else we would track him. We have plans to ensure, because again, he's planning to run for office. So we have to make sure that at every opportunity provided to us, whenever he posts, or if he's aligning himself with a particular person or a group of organization, we need to make sure that we let them know who and what he really is, and hopefully they will see the light and want and seek to distance themselves, because Lloyd is not going to stop because it's the right thing to do. Obviously, we have to make sure that we expose him as often and as much as possible, and then apply pressure on those entities that are still seeking to connect with him and be associated with him. We got to put pressure on them as well. So, when it comes to being Black, we got to do stuff simultaneously. So, he was fired. That's what I know about his revenue generation. Now I don't know how you track him other than what he posts on social media.
Understood. Got it.
Cool. Does anybody else have a question or comment for me? Any questions or comments going once? Questions or comments going twice?
I'll say this. Our people, I just have to be very blunt and say this. Our people are fucked up.
Yes, sir.
Our people are fucked up. And that's throughout the country. That's in every city, county, parish, state. And if the Negro doesn't elevate soon, as this thing with Donald Trump and the KKK Trumpicans are constantly shaping up, it's going to be over with. I mean, real talk. We just on yesterday got word that our Job Corps it will be shut down. I mean, it's shut down effective now. The children have to be out by this Friday. And there's a ping pong game that has been played not only by the Republicans, but also by the Democrats, because the Democrats have allowed for a lot of waste and corruption. Negroes have played these children as pawns. And now Job Corps is really the best program in the country. that we have for wayward children, especially. And now the Republicans are coming in, seizing the opportunity of some, uh, fiscal mismanagement because they want these children in jail. I mean, it's just the bottom line.
Yep.
Because that program is phenomenal. And you can go throughout the country and you can see these various things that's going on. So these people like Lloyd and other corrupt, criminal-minded Negroes and the pseudo-intellectual capitalists. I don't care if we're talking about Dr. Claude Anderson. I don't care if we're talking about Barber in North Carolina. These people are playing games, and this identity politics, it's killing us.
Yeah.
It is killing us. And I've done case analysis on the situation in Frisco, Texas, with this Carmelo Anthony thing, and the mentality of our people, brother. It's just, it is beyond, in many instances, is beyond repair. Because the Negro wants to be respected, but they don't even want to hold themselves accountable and responsible for nothing. But they want every other ethnic group to respect them.
Yes, sir.
We are in trouble.
Yeah.
And if you can't stop Negroes like this playing games, bro, it's unreal. And just like I'll close with this, Lloyd, knowing that I've tried to mentor him, he's hard-headed as hell, he's egotistical, he's arrogant, he's not as smart as he believes he is, but yet and still he wanted to use my political apparatus, and knowing that he was doing it incorrect. And when I sat him down, he still tried and turned everything over to you. He still tried to use pay.
Yeah.
I mean, we're dealing with a very diabolical individual.
Yeah, and Craig, on that note, I was I can't remember what I was doing, but I came across his LinkedIn page, and he has that he has paid on his LinkedIn page, and it's current as far as his status in running it. So he still had to let go.
And just so you all know and understand this, I created the Political Advocates for Independent Democracy back in 2010. So we're talking 15 years ago. And this was an evolutionary process of me being an independent since 1989. And, there was a point where I thought Lloyd was legit.
Yeah.
And once I saw that he was not legit, I told him, cease and desist. Because this is my intellectual property created from Louisiana. And so I know that Tamani is solid and therefore is in the overall mix. And so we did the paperwork to get everything shut down, but this Negro is still trying. So, and what's so funny, so y'all can understand this dude wants to still maneuver as a Democrat, lie and say he's an independent, and get goddamn money from Republicans, and use Negroes, not even knowing that they're being used by the Republicans and the Democrats.
Yep.
This is the game that this dude is playing. And these type of people gotta be neutralized. And it's just unfortunate that we don't understand, without spirituality and right culture, you're not going to have any ethics and morality. And without ethics and morality, ain't no way in the hell you're going to battle these crackers, because they are using partial good in order to deceive the masses. So how the hell can you use partial good when you're representing evil and they're the masters of evil? You can't play that game. That's what I had to say.
Yeah. Yeah. And if I could, if there was a way that I could record the lack of interest when I went to speak to city council. Everybody that spoke before me, no matter what they were talking about, um, the sister sitting in for the mayor pro tem, she thanked everybody. And on average, 2 or 3 city council persons would say, "Thank you for coming. We appreciate it. Good information, blah, blah, blah. Let me know if my office can help you. Talk to my guy, whatever." Here I am talking about a sexual predator of a child with proof. But because of who it is, the mayor pro tem thanked me for coming, but I didn't get any. I didn't get any support. How could I help? Call my office, which is telling. It really is telling. So, as Brother Craig said, if we don't find some righteous black people who are willing to speak truth to power and stand up to evil and really get some things in place, it really is checkmate for us. And with this administration, as fast as they're moving, we've been talking about Project 2025 since last February. We had a Juneteenth event last June talking about the hell. I wrote the booklet, added a bunch of Brother Craig stuff in there with solutions of what we can and need to do, and everything that they said they were going to do. Everything I was reporting on, every event we had, everything that's in the booklet. They're not only doing it, but they're ahead of schedule. And if we can't find righteous black people to do what's right by our own children, because we're caught up in identity politics, we don't want to believe it, we don't want to accept the facts, we don't believe the facts. Again, it's going to be checkmate for us real soon, real fast. We don't think that everything that's happened to us since we've been here was public policy, which means somebody had an agenda, somebody had a meeting, somebody came up with some legislation, and it became the law. And that's what we're looking at. And when you have somebody like Trump and his administration, who they got the Senate, they got the House, they got the Supreme Court, they got the numbers, anything that's currently illegal, they can make legal. And anything that's illegal, they can make it legal. And that's what we're up against. And we, like Brother Craig said, we are really up against it in 2025. And over the next 2.5, 3 years, based on information that we've received, because we've been quite blessed and fortunate to have a real life spook sitting by a real life door, based on what we've been educated to. Some real shit is coming, and it's not going to be pretty.
Brother Kamani.
Yes, sir.
Hey. Oh, sorry about that. My question is this. I'm not understanding why HISD is protecting this perpetrator. That's my whole thing.
Yeah, neither do we, brother, and that's why that's why we're here, because it doesn't make sense, Dr. Terrell, that maybe I don't know, maybe they had to send the information to TEA. I don't know, but when the young lady went to the HISD police officer, showed him the video, that video made its way to the principal. The principal got that information and took the girl's phone, and that information made its way to TEA, which is in Austin. That information, which is what I read to you guys on the Freedom of Information Act document, that was enough for them to place him on their do not hire registry, and he's there right now. If you go type in his name, it'll pop up and it shows why he's there. That was enough for them to place him on that registry and for them to fire him based on that. But why they did not send that information to the district attorney's office and why HISD didn't get that information, I don't know, which is one of the reasons why we absolutely must make sure that this thing happens. And Dr. Terrell, it screams, brother. It screams cover up. It screams ineptitude. It screams conspiracy. Yes, it's all over the place, because in the article, it clearly states that the district attorney's office said we can't prosecute without evidence. They didn't give us any, but they had it, and they probably still have it.
Yeah.
So we have to do everything we can. We're most certainly going to send the information that we have to the DA's office, to HPD. We're going to solicit TEA to reopen an investigation. So there are a number of things that we're going to do. But again, brother, he has a name in Houston. He has a name in District D. He's very connected to, despite what she says, he's connected to the current District D City Council person. Maybe he's being protected, maybe he's being groomed, but that's a very serious question that we absolutely must get an answer to. And before we got the smoking gun, Dr. Terrell, we went to speak to the school board, let them know what we were dealing with. Got no reply back from them. Nobody came out to talk to us when we were done. And I invited the school board member. I sent them 2 emails on 2 separate occasions, invited them to a Zoom to share with them information about what we had, what we were learning, what our concerns were. None of them replied. And I don't know if that's because there is a temporary board or they were assigned. I don't know. But that question is a big question. That's one of the things that we have to get answered, Dr. Terrell.
Thank you, brother.
You're very welcome.
I appreciate you, Tamani.
Yeah, thank you for asking. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Brother Terrell, let me help answer the question, because it's going to be the same throughout the country. I mean, we're dealing with lawsuits here in the city of Shreveport with the parish of Caddo. What happens in these situations, if you do just a little research on the HISD, they are in major trouble, and you're talking about state takeover. So they've had so much corruption within the HISD, they do not want any more negative press. So what ends up happening in situations like this, they will then suppress and won't give a damn based on students' safety or whatever. And this is how this works throughout the country, because they are protecting their jobs. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah.
They are protecting their jobs. And what I've come to find in doing this grassroots advocacy work for the past 30 years and having to deal with different school boards between Louisiana and Texas, most of the people who are serving on the school board, as Tamani was just alluding to, as he said, he didn't know if they were temporary, these people are incompetent. I don't give a damn if they have degrees, doctors by their name. These people don't even know what they're supposed to do. So the superintendent runs the show versus the damn school board. They don't know what they're supposed to do. So the school board members go along to get along. Okay, Tamani can send you a news article from last year here in the city of Shreveport, parish of Caddo. We had a process to hire a new superintendent. I'm gonna give you a prime example of what I'm saying. So we had a whole process. This was a nationwide search. The nationwide search fielded 5 African-American candidates, doctor's degrees, they running districts, or they the co-superintendents in their district. Not one white person was in the top 5, but the person they wanted to hire, which was a deal that had already been cut in order to have this homosexual Negro who had been the superintendent, that deal had been cut for this white boy to be the next superintendent. Brother Terrell, they paid $70,000 for this goddamn search.
God.
And do you know? They terminated the damn search and said, hey, we putting the white boy who wasn't even in the final as the superintendent. This is what we're dealing with, bro, throughout the country, bro. They all go along to get along. And he can show you the whole, because the video a few of them went viral throughout the country because I led the advocacy work on it. And one of the school board members, Ku Klux Klan cracker named Barry Rochelle, I didn't even say nothing bad. I was just telling them it's very interesting that you're talking about praying to Jesus when now, after the prayer, you get to the KKK work. And boy, he went slap off. And another one threw a piece of paper at me, and I'm giving them the information. So the Negroes, 6 Negroes, only one actual brother that's trying to advocate. The other 5, they go along with the 6 white folks.
Yep.
So this is done throughout the country.
Yep.
And they will protect their jobs at any and all costs. They don't give a damn about these children now.
At all. And Sister Kim asked a question in the chat. Could the parents have chosen to not prosecute, which may have caused HISD to take further action? So the student is 18 years old, was 18 years old, Sister Kim. and she decided not to press charges, and that is one of the things that they're using as it relates to why it didn't go further. However, it is still a felony for an HISD employee to solicit a student, regardless of age, for sex. So even with that, they could have done more to ensure that this thing was at least, at a minimum, given to those who had the power to prosecute. But again, they never gave the information to the DA, didn't give it to HPD, and as Brother Terrell asked, we got to find out why. And even if at the end of the day, even if they say, even if we learn that whatever they did or did not do, we can't do anything about it because it's another level. Let's say if that happens, that still does not change the fact that Lloyd Ford is not suited to be leadership for Black people. He is still a sexual predator that sought to have sex with a student. And again, I refuse to believe that he only did this one time. And when I tell you that the rumors of what he's done and what he's known for is far worse than what we know. So we are running with what we can prove. But when I tell you that people know and people knew, it's amazing how many people were like, yeah, we had heard that kind of thing, or we know, or whatever. So, if we don't, as a community, if we don't stop looking the other way, then our kids are always gonna be ripe for taking people who want to prey on them. So, okay, so thank you guys for being here.
Hey, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I'm sorry. Go ahead, LeVar.
Hey, peace.
Yeah.
I want to share some things as well. So as you know, I'm in Mesquite, and my son, he goes to a school called Vanguard, and I volunteer up there, and it's not coincidental, but the organization, one guy who's with another organization, but he started an organization with Dads on Duty, like Craig. So I've been volunteering with the same guy who's a coach, and he has a situation. He has a organization where we call Men of Honor. The same school had a similar situation. It was a Latino guy who was having sex with an 18-year-old student, and they did notify all of the parents.
Yeah.
So kudos to them, what I mean? And they fired him, immediately, I think maybe even press charges as well. So another thing I'm gonna share, just a little more, this slight sidetrack. Sadly, yesterday with the same guy I'm talking about with the Men of Honor, they do some great things, it's a white organization, they do, Christian things of that nature. This young man who went to a camp yesterday, had drowned and died.
Wow.
And it's the questions that I have as a Black man, and it's a Black child in a white organization, that I would have probably been there, but I had another, prior to. So I got questions. So I'll let you know why I hear about that. But I got major questions when it comes to that, on why he wasn't supervised. They do like this little thing called canoeing in Oklahoma on a lake, and it's children, and it's supposed to be so many adults there. But as you know, if it ain't us, most people don't care about us, as you know.
Yeah. Wow.
So, but to find out a 16-year-old drowned under y'all supervision is really, really sad and really questionable. And I'm doing my own research, so I'll follow up with that as well. So I just want to share that, and then that as well. So peace.
Thank you, Brother LeVar. And to your point and to Brother Craig's point, there have been other school districts in the greater Houston area that have prosecuted other people who have been either accused of or have done the same thing that Lloyd Ford has done. HISD, they haven't done that at all. And it very well could be because of what Brother Craig said. They are in a bad spot. They don't want any bad publicity. I think it was an election. Something was happening with the election when this first came out. So that very well could be the case where they're like, look, it's bad, but we can't handle any bad press. We got to keep this thing moving because we're about to be taken over. So that very well could be the case. But again, at the end of the day, if that's what it is, um, our mobilizing and organizing to do something is what's going to get these persons and these kinds of people brought to light. And a Lloyd Ford is very, very, very dangerous because again, he looks the part, he speaks the part, and he has people fooled. This dude knows that he knows that we know that the letter he's showing people is fake. I'm not sure if he knows if it's illegal or not, but he's going to find that out pretty soon. But he simply does not care. He knows that most people are going to take his word in that letter and think that we're making this thing up because sadly, most people, when I send them the article, didn't read it completely. Sadly, most people don't read it. Even people that I consider to be intelligent people, when they get to the first or second paragraph and they don't they don't want to believe it, so they stop reading, which means you can't get the full picture if you refuse to read it. But that's part of the problem. With that, amen, Brother LeVar, if there's anything I can do to help you organize, mobilize, keep things on track. I've learned a lot in this process, so if I can do anything to help, just let me know. Brother Craig posted the article that he was talking about the takeover of HIZ, I think is what it is. And when I download this recording, that would be in the chat, so I can forward that to anybody who wants to see it as well.
And if y'all go Google to my point to Brother Terrell, and again, I had even researched this over the past year or so. Go look at the Google after you read that article. It's going to tell you why they don't want to deal with this situation because they're trying to come from under state takeover.
Yeah.
So they can't have no negativity because they're trying to come from under the TEA, Tamani, is the entity that sent you that information.
Yeah.
They took over the HISD.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to come from under the takeover. And so they got an article that just came out 14 hours ago. How close are they to now coming from under state takeover? This is the politics of how this is how this game is played, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, a Lloyd Ford issue is most certainly going to be swept under the rug or swept aside because we got, from their perspective, we got bigger fish to fry, so to speak. But again, those fish, our children, they matter to us. So, as I said, as I've been saying, that this is just the beginning. There's a lot that we have to do moving forward. But there's a lot that we should have already been doing to move forward that we don't do. This simply gets added to the list. So, really, 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 thank you guys very much for being here. I appreciate it. I will most certainly be in touch with all of you to let you know what comes next, to give you an opportunity to not only be a part of it, but to share with other people. Because like I said, we were able to do what we were able to do over this 13-month period because a small group of us said to ourselves personally and to the group, there's simply too much here for there to be nothing here. And we took that, ran with it. And as a result, we finally got somebody who was willing to write an article about it. He did his research, found some things, added our stuff to it, and came and wrote an absolutely fantastic article. Absolutely fantastic. And we have to take that and build upon it, which is what I've been attempting to do, which is why we're having this presentation now. So again, thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. Always, always, always remember two things. One, no one can do everything, but if everyone does something, everything will get done. And lastly, nothing is more important, not you, not me, your kids, my kids, your family, my family. Nothing is more important than the empowerment and freedom of Black people, because if Black people don't make it, if we don't build power for our people, if we don't build power as a group, then as individuals, we will simply be swallowed up and torn to pieces by this system, because without connection to a group that has power to protect the people, the people are powerless. And of course, we don't want that. So again, thank you guys very much. I will be in touch. Y'all have a good evening. Thank you. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.